Now.
Hello everyone, welcome to Amex Exploration's presentation at the 2020 Sprott Natural Resource Symposium. I'm Kelly Malcolm, Vice President Exploration of the company, and the plan here is to walk you through our corporate presentation, introduce you to the story, and then we'll take a look at our drilling in 3 dimensions to give you further context on the high-grade gold that we've discovered to date on the property. I'll turn off my video now for buffering purposes. As you can see here, we've hit very significant gold mineralization on the Perron property. This is a drill hole into the high-grade zone of the Eastern Gold Zone. We've made a number of additional discoveries as well, and I will walk you through all of them. Please be mindful of forward-looking statements in this presentation. This forward-looking statement disclaimer is available on the Amex website. I will be making forward-looking statements, so please be mindful of that. As you can see, we've had a significant appreciation in stock price over the past year, and specifically over the past 2.5 years. We've made a number of significant discoveries on the property, which has resulted in this price appreciation. Major shareholders in the company are Eric Sprott, who's participated in 3 of our private placements, currently holds about 15.5% of the company. Commodity Capital, a fund based in Luxembourg, is our second most significant shareholder, holding around 8%. Management is very well vested in this company. We own around 13% of the overall common shares outstanding. The Quebec institutions own around 4%, and other institutional holdings around 25% of the company. So overall, it's a very tight float in a number of varied shareholders. Total shares issued is 76 million. On a fully diluted basis, 94 million shares out. Market cap today of around 245 million Canadian. We have around $25 million cash on hand. We've got about $19 million of warrants that are well in the money. So we expect to not have to dilute the shareholding structure for quite some time going forward in the future, as we conduct a very significant exploration program of approximately $21 million expended over the next 1.5 years. Our team here is varied in our expertise. Victor Cantore is the president and CEO. Victor has been in the capital market sector for over 20 years on an advisory role, financing companies, structuring companies. Got involved in Amex in 2017. Jacques Trottier is our chairman of the board. He's been with the company for over 20 years. Previously the CEO of Amex Exploration, which discovered the Shawindo mine. That asset was essentially an artisanal mine that was built up to over 3 million ounces of gold, which then resulted in a takeover of over $600 million Canadian in 2014, and it's currently being mined by Pan American Silver. Our COO, Pierre Carrier, has built a number of TSX companies through his career. He's been involved with Amex for around 10 years to date. Our CFO, Martin Nicoletti, is the CFO for a number of junior exploration companies, largely based in Quebec. Myself, the Vice President Exploration, Kelly Malcolm, previously with Detour Gold, where I was involved in the discovery of the high-grade 58 North gold deposit, and also worked on Canada's largest gold mine, which is Detour Lake, and have been involved in the junior exploration industry for a number of years. Brian Coates, a recently appointed independent director, was the past president of Osisko Gold Royalties for over 5 years. Interestingly, Brian was also born in the town of Normatal, on which our project is situated. Anik Gendron is a lawyer based in Montreal. She represents a number of different junior mining issuers, largely based in Quebec. Yvonne Gelina is a CPA or accountant based in Montreal as well. He's been involved with the company since around 2017. Andre Charek is another independent director who is a real estate entrepreneur, again, based in Montreal. So we've got a very well-rounded group of individuals with a significant component of the board being independent of management. We are focused on the province of Quebec, located in Canada. Quebec is a really great jurisdiction for exploration and for mining. We get significant tax credits, arguably some of the best tax incentives globally, and it's a very mining-friendly jurisdiction. Within the province of Quebec, we're focused around the town of Normetal. It's a past producing historical mining town that has not had any mining activity since the late 70s. And we are hoping to change that in the near future. As you can see, by highway, it's about a 7-hour drive from my condominium in Toronto. However, we're about a 2-hour drive to Timmins, call it an hour and 45-minute drive to Kirkland Lake, an hour and a half drive to Rouyn-Noranda, a 2.5-hour drive to Val d'Or, and about a 3-hour drive to La Belle-sur-Quévillon. So excellent infrastructure here, highway accessible directly to our project. We're located within the Abitibi Greenstone Belt, which is the second most prolific producer of gold globally, with the exception of the Witwatersrand Belt in South Africa. As you can see, there's a number of significant mining operations around our Perron project. We're located in the center of the Abitibi along the Shikobi Deformation Fault Zone. To our southwest is the Timmins Mining Camp. To the southeast, the Val d'Or Mining Camp. To the north, the Detour Lake Deposit, which, as I mentioned before, is one of Canada's largest gold mining operations. Of particular interest to us is the proximity to the Holt Holloway Mine and Mill, owned by Kirkland Lake Gold, the Westwood Mine and Mill, owned by IM Gold, and the Casa Berardi Mine and Mill, owned by Hecla Mining Corp. And the reason those are interesting to us is they're all highway accessible within less than about an hour and a half drive, and they're all operating under capacity and all looking for additional sources of ore to feed those milling operations. So that could be very interesting for us as we continue to advance the project. You'll see here the Normetal mine is about 10 kilometers to the southeast of us. This was a historical high-grade VMS gold-rich operation. It was mined from surface down to 2.4 kilometers depth from 1930 until 1975 or so. So the reason that's very interesting for us is not only that it shows that this is a potentially prolific mining camp, but also that these deposits within this structure can run down to very significant depths. Speaking of infrastructure within Normetal, we have very low cost drilling, largely owing to infrastructure. We operated about $150 Canadian per meter, all inclusive. That's geologists, lodging, drilling, geochemistry, etc., versus the industry norm of around $350 per meter Canadian. As I mentioned, Normetal has a long history of mining. It's got a skilled workforce that operates throughout the other mines in the Abitibi. We rent houses from residents within the town of Normetal to house our geologists and technicians and drillers, and we have fantastic amenities throughout the town. We've got this humongous 7,000 square foot core shack located in the town of Normetal. I was actually previously the curling rink for the town. It allows us to significantly upsize our drilling program. We can easily handle 10 to 12 drill rigs within this facility. So as we continue to advance the project, we can easily upsize without any additional capital costs to do so. And now on to the geology. So our project is focused on this, we call it the BEAUPRE block of rhyolite. It's a wedge of alkaline or sodium-rich rhyolite that seems to be much more amenable to hosting gold mineralization than the surrounding rocks. You can see here that it's bounded by these two thrust faults, the Perron fault to the south and the Normetal fault to the north. We've made 4 different discoveries to date. The GRATIEN gold zone, identified in the mid-1990s, the Central Polymetallic zone, identified in 2013, the Eastern Gold Zone, identified in December of 2017 but really only started to aggressively be advanced in November of 2018. And the Grey Cat Gold Zone identified in our first regional exploration program following the discovery of the Eastern Gold Zone in July of 2019. As you can see, significant exploration potential along strike, both to the west and to the east, and along this Normatal Fault to the north, which shares very similar characteristics to the Perron Fault, which we think is responsible for mineralizing these 4 different gold deposits. Looking at this in a pseudo 3-dimensional space, we're looking down at what we call the Perron Gold Corridor. This is about a 400-meter wide corridor, spans at least 2.7 kilometers along strike, and hosts all these different zones that I just mentioned to you previously. We've tested it down now to it's around 820 meters depth, and across this 2.7 kilometer corridor. But what's really exciting for the company and for shareholders, both current and future, is the ability or the potential to infill between these known zones and identify a very significant corridor of near surface gold mineralization that could be potentially exploited in a large bulk tonnage operation, with the optionality of testing these systems down to depth, as we've done at the Eastern Gold Zone, where we continue to hit very high grade gold mineralization at depth. This is a comparative slide showing our 15 kilometers of strike of mineralization, where we found our 3 major zones, compared to Agnico's La Ronde deposit, IAMGOLD's Westwood deposit, the Musca, the Doyon, and the Bousquet mining camp. This belt has produced over 28 million ounces of gold. And what's really exciting for us is you see the spacing of these gold deposits essentially every 1 to 1.5 kilometers along this break. You see a significant depth extension. Agnico's down to about 4 kilometers of gold mineralization vertically on the La Ronde. IAMGOLD's tested down to about 3.6 kilometers. And you also see, as you continue expanding to depth, oftentimes these deposits can significantly increase in strike length and width. So we're very hopeful, and based on the fact that the Normatal mine, which is to the east, was mined down to 2.4 kilometers depth, that we have a very significant depth component to these systems. Now what I'll do is I'll walk you through the individual zones we've identified to date. There's a legend map in each of the coming slides that shows you where we are. So we're on the most easterly zone identified, known as the Eastern Gold Zone. This consists of several parallel mineralized zones, the high-grade zone, and then several lenses that we call the Denise zone. As you can see here, we've got several parallel structures on this cross-section. We've got our high-grade zone, which is very linear, very consistent, very easy to drill, and should be quite easy to mine. And parallel to that, we have Denise 2 and Denise 1. As you get down to depth on Denise 1, you start to see very significant gold mineralization. We get 7 grams over 32.2 meters, with a high-grade core denoted by this orange color of 39.9 grams over 5.5 meters. Above that, within this orange corridor, we get 4.9 grams over 13.5, and above that, we get 3.9 grams over 4.5 meters. The reason that's so exciting for us is if you're envisioning an underground mining operation exploiting the high-grade zone, once you get down to sort of this 350-meter vertical level, you can start drifting over and exploiting these 2 lenses in tandem, which should provide some very compelling economics. And now what I'll do is I'll show you the high-grade zone in a longitudinal section. So this is the high-grade zone of the Eastern Gold Zone. Most of 2019 was focused on defining the near-surface portion of this system. So we drilled it off largely to 25-meter centers, had some fantastic results, including 56 grams over 8.5 meters, 11 grams over 10 meters, 7 over 9, 5.6 over 7, 25 over 6.7, essentially an ounce per ton over 5.9 meters, and 393 grams over 1.7 meters. In 2020, much of our focus was on defining the depth extension of this system. So as you can see, we've drilled it down now to about 820 or 850 meters vertically. And what's really exciting for us is we've now defined a corridor of high-grade gold, starting from a little bit below surface down to at least 820 meters, with mineralization being wide open to depth and along strike. Some of the numbers we've identified to date this year include 9.7 over 10.5, 11.6 over 5.5, 29 over 8.5, 35 over 3.3 in our deepest hole to date, and our most recently announced drill hole was 44 grams over 9.1 meters. So this is shaping up to be a very high-grade gold deposit with a significant distribution of this high-grade gold throughout the entire vertical extent of the system. Evidence towards that, over 55 of the drill holes that we've drilled into the system on an individual intercept basis have returned better than 10 grams per ton gold over variable widths. These are just some of the highlight holes that I've mentioned to you previously. And when you're looking at high-grade gold deposits, something that's very important to the resource as you continue to define it is the continuity of the system. So what we're looking at here is a 1.7 meter vein that grades 393 grams per ton. We chopped that into 3 individual samples, one of which returned 0.55 meters of 236 grams per ton, half a meter of over 20 ounces gold per ton, and 0.65 meters of 307 grams per ton. And the reason that's important to us is when you're doing your resource model, you want to ensure that you have the most homogeneous and continuous mineralization possible. And the reason that this is such a continuous system is when you look at the actual individual gold intercepts, it's largely all free gold. However, it's very fine mineralization and finely dispersed throughout the entirety of the vein set. So that should bode well for us when we do our resource calculation in the future. Now we're looking at the GRATIEN gold zone. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, this was identified in the mid-90s. It's been worked on sporadically over the years. However, it wasn't until we made our Eastern Gold Zone discovery that we utilized that Eastern Gold Zone model and reinterpreted the GRATIEN gold zone data and identified the potential for high-grade mineralization within this overall GRATIEN system. As you can see here, we've hit some really fantastic mineralization so far. We've done a little over 15,000 meters of drilling into the GRATIEN and Grey Cat zone since we started doing our regional program last July. Our first few drill holes into the GRATIEN last summer resulted in 1.5 meters of 67 grams, 4.2 meters of 16.7 grams, 4.9 meters of 27 grams per ton, with again, a really good distribution of gold present within this overall interval. Essentially every intercept within this 4.9 meters of 27 grams returns better than half an ounce per ton gold. In addition, we hit 0.5 meter of 62 and 14.6 of 16.4 grams per ton gold. Looking at a longitudinal section of the GRATIEN, you can see this is a roughly kilometer-long system comprised of several different lenses of gold mineralization. And our objective here is to define a near-surface, open-pittable, potentially resource down to about 250 meters, and then start testing the potential of the system at depth, looking for some more of those high-grade ore shoots to depth, which could be potentially amenable to underground mining scenarios. Now we're looking at our Grey Cat zone. This was a zone discovered in July of 2019. Our first few holes on this system resulted in 34 meters of 1.89, 26.9 meters of 3.4, 28 meters of 1.2, 6.5 of 9.3, and 2.7 of 24. This is a near surface discovery It's a bit further away from the Perron fault, and we think that's largely responsible for the more disseminated nature of mineralization. And as you can see, these intercepts start very close to surface, 94 meters below or downhole, 243 meters downhole, 20 meters downhole, 238 meters downhole, and 86.9 meters downhole. And if we look at a longitudinal section, you can see mineralization starts essentially right at surface. We've defined it down to about 200 or so meters at 25 to 50 meters drill spacings. And our objective going forward is to continue defining a resource on the near surface component, which would be suitable for open pit mining methods, and continue to test this system down to depth, and ideally continue to define the high grade ore shoot component that we've been seeing as we've tested it so far in the system. You can see we've hit 134 grams over 0.5, 115 grams over 0.5, and 39 grams over 0.5 in some of our deepest holes drilled to date on the system. And as you can see on this intercept, there is a high-grade vein-hosted gold mineralization present within this overall disseminated system. And now looking at the BEAUPRE block, which is that wedge of rhyolite, we're seeing significant exploration potential. This is a high-resolution magnetic drone survey that we flew in November of 2019, identified a number of significant high-priority targets for us to continue doing regional exploration. As such, we've dedicated about 20,000 meters of our 200,000 meter drilling program to testing these regional targets, both along strike of our known zones and also further to the north, and testing this center thrust fault within the overall package. And then in terms of highlights here, we've got 100% owned land package in a very mining friendly, very low risk jurisdiction of Quebec. Over 15 kilometers of prospective faults, very much underexplored within the prolific Abitibi. There is the opportunity here for not only orogenic gold, but also gold-rich VMS systems on the property. Our objective here with this 200,000 meter drilling program is to define a maiden resource on the property. Our team has found, bought, sold, financed, and developed mines in the past. And we think with Perron, we have a very good chance of doing it again. Very tight capital structure, well capitalized with over $25 million Canadian in the bank, plus $19 million of deep in the money warrants. Eric Sprott is our biggest strategic shareholder and has been a significant supporter of this story over the past 2 years. And we're currently in the middle of a $21 million 6-drill program, for which we will be providing continual news flow to the market. And we're very excited about this significant aggressive exploration program that we have on the go. And now what I'm going to do is show you our drilling so far in 3 dimensions to give you a better understanding of the overall scope and size of the system we've identified to date, and the potential that we have to continue advancing this property going forward. All right, so this is again, the overall property package looking down. I'm going to zoom in now on the Eastern Gold Zone, the Grey Cat Gold Zone, the Gratien, and the Central Polymetallic Zone. I'll disable this. And now what we're looking at is the overall system in 3 dimensions. In particular, we're looking at the Perron Gold Corridor. What's really exciting for us here is the fact that we've identified significant gold mineralization over 2.7 kilometers. And if you extend that towards our Eastern Gold Zone extension, it's at least 3.4 kilometers of gold mineralization identified to date. Very much underexplored. And what you're looking at here are all assay intercepts greater than 0.5 grams per ton, and then all gold intercepts better than 20 grams per ton are in pink. So we're currently looking down. We'll look to the north, and what I want to show you is the continuity of this system is spectacular. So Everything in blue essentially is better than 0.5 grams. So we'll do a cutoff of 1 gram per ton gold, not much of a change. 2 grams per ton, not much of a change. 3, we're starting to see more of the high-grade core of the system. 5 grams. 10 grams per ton, we're still seeing a very significant distribution of gold across the property. This is the high-grade zone of the Eastern Gold Zone. We have here our Grey Cat Gold Zone and the Gratien Gold Zone over here. And if you go all the way up to 20 grams per ton, you're still seeing a very significant distribution of high-grade gold spread throughout a number of drill holes, not only on our very high-grade Eastern Gold Zone, but also on the Gratien and the Grey Cat Zone in the center of the property. And what we'll do now is we'll take a look at the individual intercepts across the project. And we'll look down again. So we have our Eastern Gold Zone, Grey Cat Zone, and the Western Gold Zone, which we believe is an extension of the Grey Cat, the Gratien Gold Zone. I'm just going to make these a little bit larger for everyone. The Gratien Gold Zone and the Central Polymetallic Zone in the center. So we'll take a look at the high-grade zone of the Eastern Gold Zone to give you a good understanding of how linear this system is and how easily drilled and potentially easily mined this system can be. So this is looking from underground at the Eastern Gold Zone. This is our modeled panel of high-grade mineralization identified to date. As you can see, it's very consistent, very linear, very tight. These intercepts represent the possible eastward extension of mineralization. These intercepts here represent the possible westward extension of mineralization. This system is wide open to depth, and it's wide open to depth here and wide open along strike to the east as well. In addition to the high-grade zone of the Eastern Gold Zone, we also have what we call the Denise Zone. I'm going to put this at a 0.5. The Denise Zone is to the south of the high-grade zone, consists of a broad zone of gold mineralization that we are currently working on defining tight linear packages of mineralization that could be very well suited to underground mining. As well, we're working on defining the near surface portion of this mineralization because, as you can see, there's essentially no drill holes done on the vertical extension of mineralization. So we're very enthused about that, and on a visual basis, from what we've seen so far, we're very excited about what's to come on the Denise Zone. Looking at the overall Grey Cat Gold Zone and the Western Gold Zone, I'll just slice that so that we only have that in the field of view. What you can see is it's quite a disseminated system. So if I continually work my assays upwards, you'll see that mineralization up to about a gram per ton is quite well constrained over this overall Grey Cat corridor. But there is, as I mentioned before, quite a high-grade component to it as well that may work for us as we continue defining the system down to depth. So this is greater than 5 grams per ton. As you can see, there's quite a significant level of continuity in the system. And then we'll go look over at the Gratien Gold Zone, which is an open pit target that we are very excited about. So here's a 0.2 cutoff, a 0.5 gram per ton cutoff. You can see there's several different lenses. We have here the Gratien main that trends well over a kilometer of mineralization, the lower Gratien to the south, and the upper Gratien, as well as significant accumulations of anomalous mineralization that may, as we continue drilling off this system, tie up to become something significant all the way across the overall system. And as I mentioned before, there's significant exploration potential present within this system in terms of tying this overall corridor together into one comprehensive body of gold mineralization. So this is the overall Perron gold corridor. There's significant potential for exploration between these systems as well as along strike. And what you see here is we have two overall lenses. We call this the lower Perron gold corridor and the upper Perron gold corridor. Essentially no drilling on the upper Perron corridor to the west. You can see we've hit up to well over 20 grams per ton on our first few extension holes to the west, and essentially no drilling in this Perron upper corridor further to the east. So overall, we're very excited about the potential of the system. We look forward to meeting you at our booth. Feel free to drop by, either myself, the president, Victor Cantore, Wanda Cutler, our corporate development manager, and Bonnie Hughes, who manages the European side of investor relations. We'll be available to take any of your questions. And if we're not available in the booth, feel free to email me at any time, kelly.malcolm@amexexploration.com. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.